What's up everybody? Welcome back to Unparalleled Universe for another action figure review. And today we're taking a look at the brand new, actually it's not really brand new, it's probably been out for like a month and a half. Mezco took forever to ship this figure to me. Oh my god, I was getting so pissed off, so jealous of everybody else that had Dr.DOOM, but it's okay. I have it in hand now, and I'm just so hyped up about this because ever since Mezco started to do comic book figures, right away, everybody that collected them, myself included, said that they should do a Dr.DOOM because his design works so well with their aesthetic. It like matches up perfectly. So after all these years, they finally made a Dr.DOOM figure, and from what I've seen, it looks amazing. So I'm so hyped up about this figure. So let's go ahead and get into it. Starting off with a very quick look at the packaging. On the front here, we have some really cool looking Doom mask inspired box art. I love the look of that. And then on the back, we get a look at Doom along with the accessories that he comes with and some really cool artwork of the figure itself. That's about it for the packaging. It is that old school classic Mezco packaging. It's kind of big and everything, but in this case, it's kind of understandable because there are so many accessories with this guy. So, you know, I'm okay with this big crazy box, and I like the artwork. That Doom mask looks incredible. But enough about the pretty box. Let's go ahead and get Doom out and take a look. Okay, so here he is, Dr.DOOM, right out of the box. And man, this figure. Okay, so let me say something real quick though before we get into it. When it comes to this figure, I probably had unreasonably high expectations because in my opinion, it's like a match made in heaven, you know, Doom and Mezco, they go perfect together. Doom's costume design and Mezco's aesthetic and style, they should come together perfectly and be like this perfect work of art. Now, I think that perfection is probably unreasonable. It's an unreasonable thing to expect from anything, you know, especially an action figure. But with all that said, I've got to say, man, this Doom is not perfect, but oh my god, I freaking love it. This thing came out so good. I know there are some things that that people don't like. You know, I've heard some of the complaints out there. I've watched some reviews and things like that. And, you know, some of the things that I've heard about this figure are definitely true, you know, but there's so much else going on here that it just kind of like eliminates all the imperfections, in my opinion. You know, like those things are still there, but there's so much good stuff that it's hard to even care or even think about the imperfections. That's how good this figure is. As soon as I took it out of the box, the thing that caught me by surprise was the weight and the feel. Like, he's kind of heavy. Obviously, he does have like die-cast parts and plastic and, you know, the cloth. All that stuff kind of adds to the weight. But man, it's such a good feeling figure. It's so solid. It feels like really high quality. And just right away, as soon as you pick it up, it's so impressive. And then, you know, the cloth is really nice. At first, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this weird, like, suede looking stuff. But now that I have it in hand and I'm messing with it, I wouldn't have had it any other way. Like, it's awesome. I love the way it looks. And then when it comes to the cape, it does have wires coming down the sides here. And a lot of people have complained that it doesn't have a wire at the bottom. And yeah, I totally agree with that. I would have preferred a wire down there. But even as it is, you could still do a lot of great stuff with the cape. Like, the lack of the wire at the bottom doesn't really bug me as much as I thought it would. You know, you could still like pose the cape around. It's gonna, you know, it's gonna droop a little bit in the middle because it doesn't have a wire to support it. But, you know, for the most part, you could definitely get it into some really cool dynamic poses. So yeah, I mean, the cape, again, it's one of those things that's not perfect, but it functions well enough to where, like, I don't feel like I have to replace the cape or anything. I've heard some people say that about this figure, like, you know, getting a new cape entirely, and it's like, yeah, I get it, you know, but at the same time, like, what's here is really good. I mean, I think it works fine. But, you know, with that said, I would have preferred the wire. I don't want to make it seem like this is better without the wire or anything like that. That would have definitely been the way to go. But as it is, it's like, it's really dope already, you know? Like, you could definitely get it in some cool, like, dynamic poses, and it looks good, feels good, it matches the clothing, and it's just really cool looking. And then, you know, there are some areas where like the articulation could be a little better, but again, it just doesn't really bother me that much because it's not like it's not like I need a super articulated Doom. I think this figure here can pretty much do anything that you need it to do. But man, right out of the box, I am so in love with this figure. I'm so happy that I like it because like with Mezco, it's like a love-hate relationship sometimes. But man, as soon as I took this out of the box, it was like, oh geez, I freaking love it. And you know, another thing I really like about it is like he looks so cool without the cape. Let me go ahead and take that off real quick. And these things are held on by magnets, but you could just slip that off very easily. Set the cape to the side. And man, I love this look so much. I think that looks so cool. And then, you know, he's got these things back here. You could remove these and put on the little jetpacks, but it's cool to have a Doom that can kind of capture all the different looks for the character. And as usual, when it comes to Mezco, they really killed it when it comes to the design and the details on Dr. Doom. This figure looks freaking fantastic. Huge shout out to Four Horsemen Studios, who actually did some sculpting and design work on this guy. You guys did an incredible job, man. Everybody involved freaking killed it because I love the way this guy looks. Taking a very quick look at the face sculpt here because we're going to revisit this in a second. But man, I just love the classic look that the metal face has. I love all the rivets and the plates and all that. It looks so good. And I like how we could see the eyes underneath the mask. Oh, there they are. Look at that, man. That is awesome. And I just love the way that the mask looks under the hood. They killed it on the hood too. It has like a wire here in front so you could kind of like manipulate it or do whatever you need to do. So that's nice. And then you can pull it back. And as you could see, the whole head has sculpted details. And from what I could tell, most of the head is die-cast metal. It seems like the face itself, like the sculpted face, is sculpted plastic, but the rest of it is metal. The metal face is actually plastic as well. Sorry if that's confusing, but you know, the faceplate is plastic. But man, look at that. So dope. And then moving down to the body here, I wasn't sure if I was going to like this material. When I first saw it in person at Comic-Con, I was a little unsure about it because it looked different from the promo images. But now that I have it in person, I wouldn't have wanted it any other way. I think this suede material works really well for Doom. And then we have these gold plate things here. I thought that these were going to be too big, you know. From what I've seen in pictures, these look like they were going to be big, but I'm perfectly happy with how they turned out. And they are held onto the figure with magnets, you know, so you could kind of like make sure they're rotated the right way so that the chain is hanging, and I think that looks good, and that is a real chain, so that's nice. But man, look at the material. And the cape, I think the cape is pretty nice, but it definitely could have been done better. The material is dope. It obviously matches the material on the figure, but I think that the cape needed at least one more wire. As it is right now, we get a wire that comes down here, a wire right here, but I think it would have been nice if he had a wire on the outer lining of the cape as well. And if they really wanted to get crazy, I think a wire down the middle would have benefited stuff too. But as it is right now, I think this cape is pretty nice. I like how you could get like the flared up shoulder effects for the cape. I think that's very Doom. So yeah, I think the cape is good, but it could have been better for sure. That's like one main complaint that a lot of people have. And, you know, the cape hasn't really bothered me too much, but I could definitely acknowledge that it could have been better. And then taking a look at the details on the arm, look at all that stuff, man. Definitely seems like a Four Horsemen sculpt with all the detail and stuff. And then here's the belt. That looks good. He comes with another belt that we'll take a look at in just a minute, but we have some pouches and things like that. All this looks really good. The stitching on the soft goods are really nice too. Look at that. It's all very clean. Check out the lower legs. I think the feet may be metal. There's a good mixture of die-cast and sculpted plastic on this guy. It definitely gives him a very premium feel, you know. But man, I'm so in love with the way this figure looks. I think that Mezco, Horseman, everybody involved just did a wonderful job on Doom. Damn, I don't know if I've ever used the word wonderful in a review, but man, they killed it. And like all Mezco figures, Doom comes with a bunch of really dope accessories, so we're going to run through them very quickly, starting off with the hands. He does come with a pair of fists. We get a set of wide open dramatic hands. And then we have another set of open hands that aren't quite as spread out as the previous set. And then we have a third set of open hands. And I think the reason why he comes with so many different open hands is so that you can use the different effects that he comes with on these different hands. And then if this were Spider-Man, these would definitely be thwip hands, but for Doom, I would say that they're spellcasting hands. And then he does come with a set of regular gripping hands. And then he does come with a flat karate chop looking hand, but it's probably not for karate chopping. And we get one trigger finger hand for the right side. It would have been nice to get him for both sides so he could have the option to hold the gun in either hand, but you know, it's cool that he has it on the right. And then finally, he does come with one pointing finger for the right side. And then Doom does come with two different unmasked head options. Here's the first one, and I think this is a pretty good looking head sculpt. Mezco's not the best when it comes to like skin tones and just head sculpts in general, but I think that this is a pretty good looking Victor Von. I love the metal on the back of the head too, that's awesome. The facial expression is perfect for Doom. He definitely doesn't look like a happy camper, so. And then here's the second one, and I actually like this one a little bit more because he does have scars on his face that are much more apparent. You could see like the red burn marks on there. That's really dope. I like a very ugly and scarred and pissed off Dr. Doom, so I think this head sculpt captures that pretty well. And then he does come with three different metal face options, and each of these faceplates is able to fit onto either one of the head sculpts. But here's the first one, and man, I've got to say, I freaking love this. This is my favorite out of the three. It's got a very classic Doom look to it. It's got some like medieval vibes, and I just love it, man. This is so awesome. I like how you could see the eyes underneath the mask, so you could see the man under there, you know? Look at all the details on there. And speaking of details, like this is something that Mezco does that it's just kind of like above and beyond. When you take off the faceplate, look at the details on the inside of the mask. Like that's crazy. You don't really see too many companies doing that kind of stuff. So yeah, Mezco, when it comes to details, they really go above and beyond. But man, look at that. That is amazing. And then for the second metal face, you could see that it's very similar in style to the previous one, you know? But it does have a very different facial expression. And that always cracks me up, you know, Doom's masks having different facial expressions. But yeah, this is dope, man. It's like an angry Doom mask. Again, you can see the eyes under there, and it looks really nice. And then for the final metal face, we get this one here. And man, this is really dope. It's much smoother. It doesn't look as like handmade as the previous ones, you know? It feels a lot more modern. I love that they gave us faceplates to convey like a more classic Doom and something a little bit more like contemporary, I guess you could say. But I think all the head options are amazing on this figure. The only thing I think it's really missing is like a handsome Dr. Doom face to go along with like the Secret Wars kind of vibe. I think that would have been dope. Obviously the costume wouldn't have matched perfectly, but it would have been nice to get a handsome Victor Von head sculpt. And then on the back of the figure, Doom has these plates, right? And these things are able to come off. They are kind of hard to take off the first time you do it, but once you get them off for the first time, they come off pretty easily. So there we go. And you could see that under the plates, there's all kinds of sculpting work, and that is really cool. But what I love about this whole situation is that he comes with these really dope, like, rocket pack effects that you could plug into the back. And man, I love how we have like the plate that looks like it lifted up, you know, so the rocket thing could come out. And yeah, once you get those in there, that is really, really dope. And then it also comes with some like blast off effects. Put those in there. And look at that. Man, that is awesome. I love that. And then next we have what's probably his coolest accessory, and that would be his power siphon. Look at this thing, man. Really well sculpted. A bunch of cool details. Mezco always goes above and beyond with their accessories. It is ridiculous. It's got like a projection screen there coming off from the top. The handles actually swivel, and then these tubes plug into the holes in Doom's back. And then it does have a light up feature. Let me turn down the lights real quick, get romantic. And it's just a button on the top, which is really nice. You have to put the batteries in, and there's an on switch. So once you turn the on switch on, once you set it to the on setting, then you're able to just press the button on top to make it light up. But yeah, this is so dope. This is such a cool accessory to include with Doom. I feel like he's always stealing someone's power, so yeah, this is awesome. I love it. And then he does come with two different belt options. This is the first one here. It's the belt that's on him when you take him out of the box. And this does look really nice. We have this pouch here that is actually not on him when you take him out of the box. This is like an additional pouch that you could add onto the belt. And, you know, as you can see, it just kind of clips right on. It's pretty easy to take off, and then you could add it to the other belt. Oops, there it goes. But yeah, so we have an additional pouch, so that's cool. And then here we have the second belt. And as you can see, there's an extra strap that goes along here, and we have a holster on the side. But this holster can be placed on either belt. It's held on there with just a clip. But yeah, that's awesome. I think this is the way that I'm going to display him with this belt and this holster right here. And then we do get some blast off effects for the bottom of his feet, and those plug into the holes down there, and these are always awesome if you want to get Doom in some flight poses. And then Doom does come with the handgun, and this is really nice. He's able to hold on to it, doesn't fall out of the grip or anything, and then it does have a muzzle flare effect. And you know what I noticed about a lot of these accessories that Doom comes with is that they're made out of like softer material than Mezco used to use, which is probably a gift and a curse, because being that it's like a little softer, it's susceptible to getting warped, but then at the same time, it's more, you know, resistant to damage. Like, I don't think that you're gonna like put this peg at risk of breaking or anything like that, because it feels kind of soft. I mean, obviously if you try to break it, you probably can, but just handling it naturally, I think you'll be okay no matter what. But yeah, I love the muzzle flare effect. That is always cool. And the gun looks really dope. I love that, like, with all the crazy stuff that Doom is capable of, you know, like magic and all this crazy, like, science and all the crazy stuff that he could do, he still packs a gun. Freaking Doom. But yeah, this is nice. Alright, so now to get into Doom's energy effects, starting off with this one. This is probably my least favorite. I think it looks good and everything, and as you can see, there's some cool designs on there. It definitely looks like a cool spell casting effect, but what I don't like about it is that in the instructions, it says to remove the hand and then slide the energy effect over the forearm. And once you do that, it's really hard to get any of his hands back onto the forearm. And I kind of think that you're not supposed to be able to put the hands back on. I was able to get the fist in there, so that's cool. But, you know, you can't get any of the open hands in there, or it's really hard. I wasn't able to do it. And if the intention was to leave the hand off, I think that's kind of weak, because it limits what you're able to do with it. You can't really take any photos from the side or anything, because it'll just be his forearm in there. So it would have been cool if there was like a hand that it actually plugged into that was connected to the effects. I think that would be dope, but it does look cool. And if you're, you know, willing to sit there and try to get the hand on there, you could definitely make it work. Ooh, okay, now we're talking. This is how they should have done it. See how the energy effect is attached to the hand? I apologize. It's probably hard to see that because of my purple background, but yeah, the energy right here is like a translucent purple, and it's actually attached to the fingers. So he comes with 2 of these. And then here we have some blue energy effects, and these ones are not attached to the hands or anything, but they do fit nicely over the open hands. They're very soft plastic, they're easy to deal with, and I think they look really good. And then for the final blast effects, Doom comes with a couple of things that you're able to attach to some of the hands that he came with. Starting off with this here, as you can see, we have like a blue laser beam, and this is able to go onto the fingertips from that flat hand, and this looks really good. And then over here we have a little blast effect that comes out from his pointer finger, and this looks good, but it is a little warped, so I'm gonna have to see what I could do about that. But I love these effects that actually come out of Doom's armor. I think that's such a Dr. Doom thing, you know? So that is very cool. And I just love all of the accessories that he came with. Like, this figure would have been amazing if it was just Doom with some hands. But Mezco went all out with the accessories, gave him so many interesting things, so many fun things that add a lot to an already amazing figure. Alright, so now for some size comparisons, we're gonna get Doom in here with a bunch of different characters, starting off with the Marvel Legends Kang the Conqueror and the Marvel Legends Dr. Doom with a custom cape from... You know what? I can't even remember where I got this custom cape. It was either from Fizzled Customs or Harker Customs. Shout out to both of those guys. They're both very talented. Anyways, when it comes to this Doom, I will say this is probably one of Hasbro's best Marvel Legends figures. They absolutely killed it. And when you put a custom cape on there, takes it to another level, and it really, you know, increases the quality of the figure. But with that said, it doesn't come anywhere near the Mezco Doom. And obviously they are in different leagues, total different price points and different expectations, but I have seen people say that the Marvel Legends Doom is better than the Mezco one, and that is complete insanity. It doesn't even come close, and you know, it shouldn't even be expected to come close. I'm only saying this because I've heard people say that the Marvel Legends Doom is better than the Mezco one. That's completely untrue. The Mezco one absolutely destroys. And then here we have a look at Doom alongside the Mezco Fantastic Four, Reed Richards and Sue Storm. And I think these figures look really dope together. They complement each other pretty well. And I feel like they kind of enhance each other. Having all the Fantastic Four figures and Doctor Doom together kind of makes all of them more enjoyable. Obviously, Doom does most of the heavy lifting because he is the best figure out of all of them. But yeah, it's really cool to have all these Mezco Fantastic Four Doctor Doom figures all together. I think they look really dope. And then here we have him alongside the Mezco Fantastic Four, Johnny Storm and Ben Grimm, and he looks great with them, especially with the Thing. I like the scale a lot between Doctor Doom and the Thing here. I know a lot of people aren't crazy about a smaller version of Ben Grimm, but I love it because it reminds me of, like, you know, more classic comics. And if you don't want to spring for the ridiculously expensive Mezco Fantastic Four set, you could always put Doom alongside the Marvel Legends Fantastic Four figures, and in my opinion, I think it works pretty good. Here he is alongside Reed and Susan, and I think he fits in really well with them. Obviously, there's going to be a bit of a, you know, style clash, but, you know, if you don't mind that, I think they look pretty good together. And the whole style clash thing is much less of an issue with the Marvel Legends Human Torch and Marvel Legends Thing figure because obviously they don't have a whole lot of clothing. But yeah, man, I think they look really good next to Doom. And to show Doom alongside some other Mezco Marvel characters, here we have him alongside the Mezco Morbius and the Mezco San Diego Comic-Con exclusive classic Captain America. And yeah, I think that Doom fits in good with the Mezco Marvel stuff. And then here we have Doom alongside the Mezco Black Bolt and the Mezco Black Panther. Next we have Doom alongside the Mafex Magneto and the Mezco 112 Collective Classic Red Skull. And then here we have him alongside the Mafex Classic Iron Man and the Mezco Iron Man. And then here we have him alongside the Mythic Legion's Valiant Knight and the Thousand Toys Hellboy. Next, we have him alongside the Marvel Legends Doctor Strange and Mafex Classic Spider-Man. And then finally, here we have Doom alongside the Marvel Legends Renew Your Vows Spider-Man and the Marvel Legends Bucky Cap. And yeah, man, in my opinion, I think that you could pretty much put Doom with any other 6-inch Marvel line. He looked good next to Mafex figures, next to Mezco obviously, and next to Marvel Legends. So you could really do a lot with this figure. He's not really confined to just Mezco in my opinion. And I feel like Doom has a pretty good amount of articulation. Obviously there's nothing mind-blowing or nothing like over the top, nothing innovative. It's all pretty basic, but in my opinion, I think there's definitely enough here for Dr. Doom. It's not like he's Spider-Man or Daredevil or one of those types of characters that needs to be crouching and jumping around and doing all types of wild shit. And I know sometimes people will say that's a cop-out, but in my opinion, I think the needs of the character is what should kind of dictate the articulation. You don't need to stuff every single character with articulation. As long as there's enough there to do what the character needs to do, you should be good. That's just my opinion. And I do think that Dr. Doom pretty much has everything that you need for Dr. Doom. There are some areas that are somewhat limited, but for the most part, I'm having a whole lot of fun playing around with this figure, and you could definitely get him into cool Doom poses. But let's go ahead and take a look, starting off at the head. So I was a little surprised by the head and the neck area because he doesn't have movement at the lower neck. He just has that ball peg at the upper neck. So using that, we get some nice tilting action. So that's always fun for some attitude. You can look side to side. You can look up only to about right there. So that's not a whole lot, but you could definitely use the torso if you need some help and you need him to look up a little bit more. So that's cool there. And then he can look down to about right there. And same kind of idea with the torso. If you want him to look down a little bit more, the torso could help you out. So yeah, not a whole lot going on at the head, but you know, it's not bad or anything. And then for the torso, he does have a diaphragm cut and I think a ball joint at the waist. Yeah, he's got a ball joint at the waist and a diaphragm cut. Using both of those, he could crunch forward to about right there. And, you know, it is pretty limited because of the soft goods. And, you know, it seems like he's got like a fully sculpted torso under there. So there's probably some details that are, you know, hindering things just a little bit. But he does crunch forward a pretty decent amount. Yeah, that's not too bad. And then it does go back to about right there, which is pretty impressive. That's kind of far. It's interesting that it goes further back than it does forward. But yeah, there you go. And then you can twist right there on the diaphragm, but it is kind of tight. We get a little bit of side-to-side action, but not a whole lot. So, you know, we've got a little bit of stuff going on at the torso, but it would have been nice to get a little bit more out of that. And then for the arms, they can go all the way around. And then you can bring them up to the side to about right there. And the joints feel real smooth on him too, so that is really nice. The arms move up with no problem. So that's good. And then he does have upper bicep swivel. And let's see if we could get him into like a decent punching pose. I don't know. Things are kind of crazy up here with the armored arms and stuff. But I feel like, you know, Doom isn't going to throw hands. He's a scientist, a magician, a king. I mean, like an emperor or whatever, a ruler. He's not going to be like, yeah, let's box. He's going to cast someone to hell or some crazy shit, throw him into another dimension or lock him in some type of weird electrical prison. Anyways, he could punch to about right there. So, yeah, that's not too bad. I'll take that. You could get him into like a decent boxing pose, just in case. I feel like he'd only want to box somebody like Galactus or you know, someone crazy like that. Someone he shouldn't be boxing. He's like, I'll square up with them, but boom, there we go. That's not too bad. And I think I mentioned it, but he does have upper bicep swivel. And then he does have double joints at the elbows, but they are, you know, somewhat limited. They only bend to about right there. So I do wish that he was able to get a little bit more movement out of the elbow. But, you know, it's not like it's horrible or anything, but it's just, you know, it's about 90 and that's about it. Maybe just a little bit more. So it would have been cool to get a little bit more movement out of that. And then at the wrist, he does have a ball joint that has a hinge in there. So you could, you know, rotate on that hinge and swivel things around and do what you got to do with the hands. So good stuff there. And then for the legs, one thing that's really important with this Dr. Doom, which is going to separate it from other Dr. Doom figures, is that he could sit down. I think that's a big thing, you know, get him into like a throne or a chair or something. So that's nice. But aside from that, he can kick to the side, or let's bring his clothing up just a little bit. Yeah, he could kick to the side to about right there. I mean, that's not too bad for a dude wearing a bunch of armor. He could kick forward to about right there. Bring his leg back only to about right there. It kind of just stops. He does have upper thigh swivel. He has double jointed knees, but same kind of thing as the elbows. They are somewhat limited. I do wish that we were able to get a little bit more out of that, but again, not a big deal. You know, it bends enough, so that's cool. And then at the foot, he does have a ball joint in there, but it's kind of, you know, it's kind of restricted by the design of the lower leg. We still get some side to side, which is nice. Get some rocking action. It only goes forward to right there and only comes up to right there. So the feet are somewhat limited. So yeah, I think that Doom has a pretty good amount of articulation. You could definitely get him into some cool poses. It is somewhat limited because it is a guy wearing a bunch of armor, and then he does have like soft goods, and you know, there's just not like a whole lot of freedom to stuff a bunch of articulation in there and still stay true to the way Doom looks. I think that Mezco did a good job at finding the balance, although I do feel like there are a couple of joints that would have benefited from some increased range. For the most part, I'm very happy playing around with this figure, and I think they did a pretty good job with the articulation. Alright, so overall, at the end of the day, when the smoke clears, the dust settles, and it's all said and done, we're going to keep these final thoughts brief because I think it's pretty obvious and very clear that I absolutely love this figure. I think that Mezco put their best foot forward with Dr. Doom. In my opinion, this is going to go down as one of the best Mezco figures ever made. I freaking love this figure. I think it looks incredible. The Four Horsemen did some amazing work on the sculpt and the design. The soft goods are extremely well done. The articulation on this guy is pretty good, although I do feel like it would have benefited from just a little bit more movement in certain areas. But in my opinion, I think that the articulation this figure has does enough for what the character needs, and for me, that's all that really matters. I will say though, I think that Mezco kind of set themselves up for failure in the articulation department because they kind of made an unrealistic expectation, because if you look at the promo images, they have Dr. Doom doing a bunch of things that this figure can't really do. So, you know, I could totally understand why somebody would be disappointed with the articulation, but in my opinion, I think it's good and it's enough for the character. The accessories are absolutely ridiculous. Mezco always kills it with the accessories, and I'm so happy to see that they went all out on Doom's accessories because I love all that stuff. The hands, the weapons, the effects, the different faceplates, the different heads, and then the power siphon machine. That thing is crazy, and it's such a cool accessory for Doom. I have heard some gripes about this figure, and I'll be honest with you, I could totally agree with some of those gripes. I do think the cape could have been done better. It would have benefited from some thicker wires. The ones that are in there do have trouble supporting the weight of the cape, and I do think it should have had a wire on the outer lining of the cape, as well as like one going down the middle. If it had all those wires, you could have done a lot more posing. It would have been easier to deal with, but as it is right now, I do think the cape is serviceable. You could definitely get some dynamic poses out of it, but it could have been better, that's for sure. But you know what? Even with the little imperfections, like, there's just so much that I love about this figure that I haven't even been able to like think about the imperfections or focus on them too much, you know, because there's so much other good stuff here. I have heard people say they have some QC issues on Doom. Thankfully, mine was pretty much all good. The only problem that I was really having was that one of the ball joints at the wrist kept popping out from the forearm, so, you know, that'll be something I'll have to deal with. And then one of the plates on the back, after I took it off for the first time, like, it wouldn't sit in there as securely. It's not like it was just falling out or anything, but if I was messing with the figure too much or trying to do something, you know, one of the plates would kind of slip out. So again, you know, minor things, and we don't like to see those things on a figure that costs this much. I totally get it, but they're just kind of minor inconveniences. But yeah, man, I freaking love this figure. Like I said, one of the best Mezco figures ever made, and I've been kind of in a love-hate relationship with Mezco for the last couple of years. So, you know, like for me, I was really hoping to like this figure because it feels good to like a Mezco figure, it feels good to like a Marvel character, and also this is something that I just feel like the whole community, action figure community, has been wanting for a long time. Ever since they started to do comic book characters, people have been asking for Doom, and I'm just so happy to see that they came through with it and they absolutely killed it. And with that, I think that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Also, be sure to hit the bell notification so you know every time that I go live. Thank you very much. Peace.